What if the story didn't actually end when the screen went black? What if the characters from Game of Thrones got one last chance to talk, after all the battles, after the throne was won and lost? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today, an imagined conversation in the afterlife, where we find out what really mattered when all the power and politics were finally gone.
Okay, so let's kick things off with this quote from Tyrion. And wow, this one idea just turns the whole saga on its head, doesn't it? It suggests that all those epic battles, the huge speeches, the moments that made us gasp, maybe they weren't the ones that truly define these characters. Maybe it was the quiet stuff, the unspoken things that really stuck with them. So, picture this. This isn't some grand hall where heroes and kings get to tell their side of the story. Nope. In this version of the afterlife, all of that is stripped away. No crowns, no titles, no armies. You're just you. And you have to finally face the quiet choices you made. This isn't about defending your legacy. It's about reckoning with your truth.
All right, so our first big idea here is what we're calling the echoes of loss. This is all about how the wounds these characters carried in life, well, they're still speaking, even after death.
Man, this one from Catelyn Stark just hits you right in the gut. For her, the grief wasn't about destiny or the great game. It was a mother's profound, personal sense of failure. She never saw herself as a pawn of fate, just as a mother who couldn't protect her children. And that's an ache that even death couldn't soothe.
And then you've got Robb Stark. This is so interesting. His biggest regret wasn't just dying. It was that he lost himself along the way. The moment he became the King in the North, this huge symbol, he could never go back to just being a son. His final sorrow was knowing he'd never again feel that simple, pure connection of being his mother's child.
And Arya. This quote explains her entire journey perfectly. Her silence was never a weakness, it was her weapon. Her list, her relentless training, it was all her way of taking a rage that was too big for words and turning it into action. But here's the catch. The same silence that kept her safe also locked her in a cage, keeping her from saying the things that might have actually healed her.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the very tools these characters used to survive were the exact same things that left them completely isolated. Think of it like armor. Ned's honor, Robb's duty, Arya's silence. All of it was armor they wore to survive the game. But in the end, that armor walled them off from real connection.
This brings us to our next section, the lies we told ourselves. This is all about the illusions they needed, the stories they told themselves, just to get through the day and justify their actions.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at Daenerys. She honestly believed that because people obeyed her, they must love her. She mistook fear for connection. Then there's Tywin, who thought building a powerful family name was a substitute for being a loving father. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. And Stannis, he was so convinced he was right that he used it as an excuse to be unbelievably cruel.
And speaking of cages, let's talk about Cersei. She says, "I believed fear was strength because it worked." And you know what? She was right. It did work in Westeros. But here's the tragic twist. The same fear she used to protect her family also became her prison. It cut her off from everyone.
This next one, through Melisandre, really makes you think. It asks, can faith without humility become just another form of power? Melisandre was so certain about her visions, so sure she was right. And what she finally realizes is that her unwavering faith was really just a way to avoid taking responsibility for the horrifying things she did in its name. So this really boils it all down. In life, what was their focus? Power, legacy, survival, all the big, loud stuff. But in the afterlife, all of that just melts away. And what's left? Connection, presence, truth, the quiet stuff. The stuff that actually mattered all along.
All right, this brings us to the final and maybe most powerful revelation. After you peel back all the layers of regret and all the lies they told themselves, it turns out every single one of them, from the kings to the killers, wanted the exact same thing in the end.
And it comes from Tyrion. If I could sit with someone one last time, it would be to sit without trying to be clever. Just let that sink in. The cleverest man in Westeros, whose words were his greatest weapon, admits that all he really wanted was to just shut up, to just be with someone, without the performance, without the walls. So what was that ultimate desire? It wasn't redemption or legacy. It was way simpler than that. First, just to sit with someone, with no arguments, no defenses. Second, to be seen, truly seen, without any labels.
And third, to just be human without every little thing having some huge life or death consequence. That's it. They just wanted pure, unconditional presence.
So, okay, what does this all mean for us? This is where this whole thing turns from a cool thought experiment into something we can actually use. What can their regrets teach us, the living?
First lesson, speak sooner than feel safe. Think of all the pain that came from characters just not talking, from keeping it all bottled up. This is a challenge to us. Say the thing. Be vulnerable before the moment is gone forever.
Second, sit longer when you can. This one's huge, especially today. We're all running, always trying to get to the next thing, the next achievement. This is a reminder to just stop, to be present, to choose a moment of connection over the next item on your to-do list.
And that brings us to the biggest takeaway of all. Being present for someone is often the bravest thing you will ever do. Forget dragons and swords. The real courage, the thing that's truly hard but matters most, is just showing up for another human being, really being there with them.
And so, we're left with this final question. Crowns and thrones, they all turn to dust. And what this reflection really asks us is this. For you, what moments will endure? When all the noise of your life fades away, what are the quiet moments that will be left?